guys had some Tarmogoyfs in the sideboard that they bring in, and also Dark Confidant.
Yeah, he has way more creatures. With Deathrite Shaman to back up Deathrite Shaman, he has Dark Confidant, Tarmogoyf, Vendilion Click. He will be able to morph into a more aggressive strategy here.
And his opponent, Daryl Ayers, is on a very standard Rug Delver list.
You see a turn 1 Deathrite Shaman from Jarvis here. Daryl had a turn 1 fetch land, but no play to go with it. He's kept a mostly blue cards hand, which can be pretty dangerous from Delver. Right here, he didn't really have an answer for the Shaman. He didn't really have a threat. He needs to make sure he doesn't get behind on the board. As we've said before, it's very hard for him to catch up. Okay, he doesn't have an answer for the Shaman, so he's not behind yet. Jarvis does play Daze in the deck. He doesn't tap him.
Really like that full art promo Lightning Bolt. I believe it was one of the last player rewards cards that went out in the mailing.
In Altered Wasteland, he's going to waste Jarvis. Still no plays yet. And challenge Jarvis to make land drops.
Jarvis does make his next land drop, Underground Sea into Ponder, so he's going to be able to set up his next few turns here potentially. Leaves him on top with Ponder. Ships the turn. Daryl's got a very reactive hand. Spell Pierce, Force of Will. He's going to use a Ponder. Maybe look for a threat.
Yeah, I almost want to say, I'm looking more at Jarvis' deck, it's almost more of a bug mid-range deck as opposed to a control deck. He doesn't actually have the loam late game. He's running 2 Hymn to Turoks. He does still have Jaces and a pair of 3 Jaces, 2 Lilianas. So he's, when faced up against other bug decks, he certainly would not be the control deck.
Right, it's kind of blurring the lines there.
Yeah, it's almost like it occupies the same role that a junk deck would or a rock deck would. Granted, it's not the right colors for that, but I think strategically it's on a similar game plan.
Isn't there a time period when such decks were called Team America for almost spurious reasons? All right, Daryl, Flooded Grove, Jarvis U now falls with a Bayou into Dark Confidant.
And we see another Lightning Bolt in Ayers' hand.
It has to get bolted. Do not let Dark Confidant live.
Yeah, he's decided to untap and bolt it. I think he's hanging on to that fetch land in case he draws a Brainstorm. He wants to make sure he can crack it for full value.
Also playing around Daze. If he had gone crack fetch into Volcanic, he could have gotten his Lightning Bolt dazed. Jarvis is just going to continue to apply pressure with the Tarmogoyf.
Tarmogoyf's going to get forced by Daryl, so Force of Will pitching
Stifle?
Probably Stifle. Unless, the only reason he may want to stay on to Stifle would be to protect his own land. But no, you're right, Stifle's the card that goes.
His other blue card was Spell Pierce, so he wants to keep that to make sure the Force of Will resolves.
I'm very confused here. Daryl drew a Brainstorm, but he's choosing to fetch pre-Brainstorm, it looks like. The biggest thing is that Daryl didn't really have a threat this game, and Force of Will does 2 for when the player playing it. It's one of those cards, it's a necessary evil to play it in Delver, but I know, I've talked with a lot of Delver pilots, it's a card they routinely don't like drawing in the back.
Come on! They say that?
Yeah,
they don't like drawing Force of Will?
Absolutely. In the matchups where you need it, i.e. combo, it's great to have, but it's not a great card in the deck. 2-1 yourself's not very good. You have to play it because it's a Force of Will, but certainly in the mirror, it's one of the first cards to get sided out.
Okay, fair enough. Still though.
Okay.
Force of Will. You like drawing it.
Kind of. So a pair of Wastelands now for Jarvis. He may, and powerfully so, try to waste Daryl out of the game. There's a Brainstorm here. Jarvis really, he himself, he's going to go for the double Wasteland now. Alright, so...
It's certainly going to enable the Nimble Mongoose, though.
Yep.
But Tarmogoyf will be larger.
And 2 lands found by Daryl Ayers. So, Crisis averted.
I don't know if it's averted.
There.
Crisis delayed?
There we go. I'll take that.
We can't just throw the word crisis around. We're not DC Comics.
Sure.
This is a crisis. This is a mongoose crisis.
Yeah. There was the potential there for Ayers to just be knocked out. Daryl to be knocked out of the game by that. So he's gonna put a land on top, and one of them wish he'll draw right away. So Daryl, at this point, Daryl's hand has a Spell Pierce and a Brainstorm. He may take a few points of damage off this Tarmogoyf.
Take a lot of damage.
A lot of points of damage off the Tarmogoyf before he's able to stabilize.
The rest of the damage. Thoughtseize.
Daryl could try, if he tries to Brainstorm here and has enough lands, he could try to hide all the relevant cards from Thoughtseize. Daryl has a cheap threshold. And I think the Thoughtseize will take the Brainstorm, and it does. So now Daryl, just with Spell Pierce, he doesn't really have a good way to stop the beats that are coming from Tarmogoyf.
Drops to 13. And Jarvis adds a Dark Confidant. Yeah, this bug deck from Jarvis is much less controlling than what we saw from BBD and Ollie earlier.
Right, and I mean it is right. It's more in the style of a Team America deck. It's an update in the fact that it's now playing 4 Deathrite Shamans. So I mean you can call it an update to Team America. It's probably the closest thing. You know, it is running 4 Deathrite Shaman, 3 Abrupt Decay. So it's certainly fair enough. Yeah, we'll go ahead and give it that name for now. It's still strategically the same thing, but it has plenty of new cards.
And Daryl is just shuffling his cards. He must be getting ready to pack it in here. There's not much going on. Yep. Didn't like what he saw off of that Sylvan Library.
Yeah, and he didn't really have the option to keep any of the cards off Sylvan Library. Like we said before, there aren't too many ways for him to catch up from a lot of time from that situation.
The rug deck, you mean?
For the rug deck, yeah. Once Jarvis was able to, I suppose, in that matchup set up, there were just like a couple of incremental 2-for-1s that happened. We saw the Force of Will being one of the 2-for-1s. And then we had just a lot of back and forth of cards, and Jarvis eventually, with Tarmogoyf, ended up with Tarmogoyf, which, being larger than the Nimble Mongoose.
Tarmogoyf was too big right there. And as you said, the rug deck is not really designed to catch up. It wants to get ahead and stay ahead and try to finish the game off before the other guy catches up. So it's really hard when the other guy starts off so quickly there. And those Dark Confidants, he had to respect the Dark Confidant and off those as soon as he saw them.
And almost at the same time that Jarvis had a fast start, Daryl had a slower start. His hand was an all blue spells hand, which will let him find the tools he needs to win, but when they aren't in his opener, then it's really just like adding 1 mana to most of the cards you want. And when you have to ponder for, say, your Delver, and then your Delver comes down on turn 2. And a lot of things like that will happen, which slows down the speed of Daryl's deck.
So after sideboard, Daryl has the traditional Submerge and Red Elemental Blast pair that should be good.
Yeah, the Red Elemental Blast may not see too much play here. Jarvis is somewhat light on blue cards. If he wants to bring in Blast to get rid of, I suppose to get rid of, it would be mostly for Ponders and Brainstorms.
Right.
So that's a fine play. At the same time, Daryl really doesn't want to dilute his deck too much. Submerge is great because Tarmogoyf is one of the things that really can blank his good draws. A timely Tarmogoyf, as we saw there, really shuts down Daryl's offense. So I'm sure we'll see the Submerges. We may also see the Sulfuric Vortex get boarded in.
Ooh, I saw that. Daryl Ayers has 1 Sulfuric Vortex in his sideboard. Why just 1? I mean, clearly you don't need more than one, but...
Right, I mean, the first one's the one that's designed to win. I mean, a lot of it's an issue of space. How many matchups do you actually want Sulfuric Vortex in? Right now, the control decks, as we're seeing, are playing Abrupt Decays, so it's not... It's a little more answerable than it has been before.
Very true. I would say if you're Patrick Sullivan, you want all of the Sulfuric Vortexes. All the time. And Patrick Sullivan will actually be commentating next weekend in Las Vegas with Mike Flores, so I don't even know if he'll bring his cards. He's got that famous red box that at any moment in time, in any format, he can just like throw a burn deck together. It's quite the thing to see.
So we'll see those sideboard cards from Daryl Myers. Maybe also, it's possible that he might want the second Sylvan Library. Team America is a little more aggressive than, say, an actual bug control deck. Against an actual bug control deck, the second Sylvan Library would be great. Here, as we saw, Jarvis does have some draws that will be more aggro enough that Sylvan Library is really not the card Daryl wants. But I think the second one will probably still see sideboard play.
What is Jarvis going to do?
On Jarvis' side, he has a pair of Umezawa's GTAs.
Oh, yes. He's got a random singleton Inquisition of Kozilek.
Right, not typically a card you see in sideboards, but something which will be fine against Daryl. Anything that's a 1-for-1 removal to help make the game get to a later will be definitely in Jarvis' favor. You know, and kind of more to the point, Jarvis has a full set of Force of Wills in his sideboard as well. Kind of that thing where Force of Will being the necessary evil, but not really a card he's excited to play. You know,
right, so as you mentioned earlier, in these kinds of mirror matches or semi-mirror matches, the rug decks side out Force of Will because of the card disadvantage.
Right.
There's no critical spell where you auto-lose like against a combo deck, so you want to be able to trade 1-for-1 more often.
Yeah, you'd rather just have, you'd rather Spell Pierce something, say, for example, as long as you can get that to counter it.
All right, here we go. On to game 2, Daryl Ayers. Piloting Rug Delver is going to start off with a Tropical Island and a Ponder.
And now he's in Submerge, Spell Pierce, Delver of Secrets. So when he keeps keeping this, which I have to imagine he will unless he doesn't have any other lands, he will have a set up Delver next turn. He has not hid the Delver from a Thoughtseize. He opted to draw it. If he's planning to play the Delver next turn, it's likely he should have the Delver on top of his deck if he's really worried about it getting taken. As you see here, Jarvis actually is going to likely fetch him the Thoughtseize.
Well, then we'll see what's in Daryl's hand.
Yeah. The reason you'd want to draw that is if you actually want that to be the card.
Maybe he's already got a Delver in his hand, and his next turn he's planning on just double Delvering.
Right, and yeah. And in that case, if you have a second Delver, you can't protect the first one, so sure, why not?
Jarvis cracks fetch, Underground Sea, Thoughtseize, show us.
2 Tarmogoyfs, a Delver, a Ponder, a Dismember, and a Wooded Foothills.
Friday Night Magic Dismember. Good call.
And Jarvis has to assume that the Delver has been set up correctly so that it will flip. Maybe not has to, but it's a good bet that this guy will be a 3-2. And Jarvis will think about it accordingly when deciding what to take.
And even if it's not set up off of that one, there's a second Ponder.
Right. Jarvis also has it looks like he has a Deathrite Shaman in hand and an Abrupt Decay. So he's going to take a Tarmogoyf. He didn't have an answer in hand for the second Tarmogoyf. So now Spell Pierce, drawn by Daryl Ayers.
He's going to play the Delver of Secrets, Wooded Foothills.
Yeah, doesn't really want to crack Wooded Foothills, as we know the top
is Submerge.
It's a Submerge. And Duress from Jarvis here. So you'll have the option between Spell Pierce, Ponder, and Dismember if Daryl lets him do it, which I think because it gives him the 3-2, Daryl will. None of those spells are so good that they need to be protected. Anything but the Goyf can be taken. And he goes for Dismember. Jarvis doesn't have a Tarmogoyf yet, but if he were to draw a Tarmogoyf, he won't want it getting dismembered.
Yeah, he's setting himself up.
Yeah, on top of that, I guess he may not want just even his Deathrite Shaman to get dismembered.
So Jarvis taking advantage of the fact that Daryl wants to flip that Delver.
So submerge from Daryl Ayers.
And there we see that play.
Yeah, he can swing. The Ponder plays really nicely with the fetch land too. Daryl can ponder, grab the card he wants, and then shuffle away the other two. His choices are that or Tarmogoyf. He's going to, I think he's going to go with the Ponder line here. Yep. So Ponders, top 3 cards. Force of Will, Wasteland, and Nimble Mongoose.
With a Deathrite Shaman on the board, Tarmogoyf might not be the most attractive play. He does have the Submerge though. So at this point, if Jarvis goes for any fetch land, cracks any fetch land.
Right. What he has to watch out for, I think, on this board is that his hand is a little soft to a kill spell right now. If Jarvis just abrupt decays the Delver, for example, that's not the ideal position for Daryl. So he wants to make, obviously he can't protect himself against that with a Force of Will because it can't be countered. He chooses to draw the Wasteland then. He's going to try to keep Jarvis off of that.
And that
Granted,
Wasteland...
Deathrite Shaman makes mana, so if he has it, with a Deathrite Shaman in play, Wastelanding your opponent, it's not... And he's during draw... Yep. After a card's been drawn for the turn, but before the beginning of the turn, he's going to submerge the Deathrite Shaman. He doesn't want Jarvis to draw it for the turn and be able to replay it. Alright, he was going to do it, but then he realized that he wasted the wrong land, so he actually can't submerge.
Yeah. Whoops.
Alright, so Thoughtseize.
Yeah, so the alternate cost for Submerge, you have to control an island, they have to control a forest. He wastelanded the Bayou, which is Jarvis's forest. It's okay, I think he's still... Oh, Jarvis, yeah, we just saw Jarvis flicker through to an abrupt decay.
Right, the decay's been there in his hand for a while at this point. So, like we said, what Jarvis, all he really needs to do in the matchup, because of the life gain that Deathrite Shaman poses, is he just needs to clear the board of creatures.
What say you to Thoughtseize? I would like to seize your thoughts.
Yeah, he didn't want to Spell Pierce it because Jarvis actually can pay for the Spell Pierce with the help of Deathrite Shaman. And that, if he Spell Pierce and gets a pay for, that's a 2-for-1. The tempo doesn't really matter. So Tarmogoyf gone, we're down to,
Spell Pierce and Submerge.
So not actually, with a kill spell, not really another creature that Daryl can play.
Okay, Jarvis is cracking his fetch, his Verdant Catacombs. Is he going to keep it non-forest?
Yeah, he's going to go non-forest with it.
So Daryl not only made the misplay of thinking he could submerge, but also gave away the information.
Right, now...
But we already knew that off of
Deathrite Shaman
Delver
can be the green source, which it will be right now. Can exile Wasteland out of Daryl's graveyard, and abrupt decay the Delver Secrets. Jarvis at 10, Daryl's gonna... Can't really be, because of Deathrite Shaman, Daryl can't go on the Hurdle Burn spells plan. Deathrite is going to gain too much life for that. Actually, because he didn't fetch for green, Deathrite can't gain life yet. But, I mean, Jarvis, I think, can only stay non-green with his lands so long. Eventually he's going to have to activate that Submerge.
Deathrite Shaman, yeah, green, exile, target creature, gain 2 life. So.
Yeah, so the life gain ability requires green. And yeah, here, Jarvis does get Bayou. He's going to need to use that ability. Maybe we'll make Tarmogoyf.
And also play Tarmogoyf.
Yeah, it looks like a Goyf of Daryl's own on the other side. And both Goyfs currently 4/5s.
And Daryl's Submerge is now live with that Bayou, so what's going to happen here? Jarvis is going to ping for 2, eating a spell?
He's hitting Ponder, doesn't particularly matter. Daryl does not play any Snapcaster Mages. The effect it's having here is Jarvis is going to go at Daryl's graveyard to stop a potential nimble mongoose from being thresholded. He may try to control the size of Tarmogoyfs, and a very good draw for
Another
Daryl.
abrupt decay. Is Daryl, yeah, he's going to submerge his own Tarmogoyf.
Yeah, can't actually afford.
Wait.
No. So Jarvis thought he was doing it to his Tarmogoyf, and then had to correct himself when he realized what was going on. Last turn, Tarmogoyf into play from Daryl Ayers. And Daryl appears to have another submerge in hand.
Okay, does Jarvis have another abrupt decay?
He's just on lands right now. The Deathrite Shaman, so will probably, because their type totals are close enough, the life gain or loss represented by Deathrite Shaman does give Jarvis the inevitability right now. And forcibly drawn. Yeah, it means we can
Another
go
submerge.
You can go submerge force here. So you can force the Goyf on its way back down.
So he's going to get aggressive. Daryl Ayers attacks with Tarmogoyf. So take Jarvis to 5.
Yep. And Jarvis has gone now on the life.
Now,
gain,
yeah.
Up to 7.
The versatility of the Shaman here. Switching gears between pinging for 2 and gaining life.
Ooh, and because he made that land drop, Jarvis, and
Wow.
throws them both on the board. Jarvis actually, because he is not going to be able to life gain off Deathrite Shaman because he already played the land and now he has no green sources for that ability from Deathrite. So put him in
Another 4 puts Jarvis at 3.
Yeah.
Deathrite Shaman.
That can be very
He's
scary
going to
total
ping
be
for
at.
another 2. It's getting close here.
Another fetch land for Jarvis U. So
So
Jarvis
now-
will drop to 1 this turn.
Yeah, Deathrite Shaman is going to have to go into
Brainstorm.
life gain mode.
Can he find a burn spell? Does not look like it. He does have another fetch land and I think a brainstorm, so he'll essentially get to draw 3 cards next turn.
Daryl cracks a Wooded Foothills. Goes to 7. Gets a tropical, or a volcanic island, I'm sorry. So now he could go Brainstorm again,
Brainstorm
draw
and see if there's a
bolt.
lightning bolt. Yeah, he's refreshed the top of his deck. There was a lot of lands in that Brainstorm. I think he kept a Brainstorm and a fetch land, putting all the cards back, including that Spell Pierce that's been dead in his hand most of the game. Another Brainstorm, see if he can get
Go
it.
for it. Is it there?
It does not appear
No.
to be. Yeah,
Some more lands.
Yep. One of them appears to be an artist mod. Can't really tell what's in his hand besides some sort of land. Yeah, he put all 3 back and then drew 1, kind of like it was Ponder.
Which is
fine.
fine.
It's the same thing.
It is much better than pondering and accidentally using it as a brainstorm. So Tarmogoyf attacks. Jarvis is going to need to gain 2 life in response, which he does. Says take one of those creatures, Delver Secrets. So he goes to 5, and then he's going to go to 1. Oh no, he chump blocks. Okay.
Yeah.
So he gained 2 life off of the Deathrite Shaman after chump blocking the Tarmogoyf. Now he goes to 1 off that attack. Ponders, needs to find a removal spell. There's a Dark Blast, there's a Tarmogoyf.
So that Tarmogoyf will be able to block, and actually with the help of Dark Blast, we'll be able to win Tarmogoyf Wars. That's a little bit of a tall order for Jarvis because of just how low of life total he's at and the Sylvan Library of Daryl Ayers.
Yeah, Daryl's getting a free brainstorm here off of the Sylvan Library.
Yep.
Takes a look.
Every
still-
time he finds a fetch land, he'll get another brainstorm.
Yeah, still doesn't see what he wants to see.
Yeah, fortunately
That's
for Jarvis,
a-
the wind's not there yet. It's a Daze, which is not really a
I
card.
think it's a Daze, Dual Land, Wasteland.
So
So that's 3 turns of nothing for
Yep.
Daryl.
Daryl would have to then decide whether or not he wants to. Well, if he gets another Wasteland, actually, he can waste both the green sources of Jarvis, and because Jarvis is at 1, Jarvis can't find another green source. So that can be pretty good here. There's some utility to be had. And he's gonna wasteland the other green source. Absolutely.
Right.
So Jarvis, now a 2-color deck, or 2-color lands in a 3-color deck until he can gain in some life.
So that takes away the Abrupt Decay, but Jarvis has now drawn Dark Blast.
Yep.
That's very dangerous. We saw that Daryl did not attack last turn, so he's probably not going to attack again until he actually has a way to break through.
All right, and there we go, Nimble Mongoose, that's the one.
That'll do it.
Jarvis is going to have to draw a creature, and it's a wasteland. That's not going to do it. Just the formalities here. Jarvis is going to wait for Daryl to turn his creatures sideways.
Sure, and he might not. I mean, he has to represent something, and Daryl, respecting that, may decide not to. Nope.
Not, the thing is, there's not much to represent because Abrupt Decay would be the card to represent. There's no
the green.
Yeah. So, smile on Jarvis' face. Close game.
So that was very heads-up play by Daryl to double waste the green sources there.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely.
Oftentimes, when you reach game states like that, you don't really think too much about Wasteland because it's more of an early game disrupt their flow. It's like, oh, now you have 5 lands out, I don't need to waste anything. But cutting them off from access to a color can be very important. I really like that. Alright, so we're going to go to game 3 here. Daryl Ayers with the Rug Delver deck. Jarvis U with what we're calling Team America. A deck that has evolved over time, so I think this is fine as a current iteration of Team America. We're here at the Baltimore Legacy Open. And it looks like they're both kind of rejiggering their sideboard plan. What do you think is going through their heads?
Well, this match we're going to have Jarvis on the play. That's going to put Daryl at a little bit of a disadvantage. What that means, I think, as far as Jarvis is concerned, is he can cards like possibly he has a Duress in his sideboard. You know that he has an Inquisition in his sideboard. Cards like that, or even Days from Jarvis, become much better cards. He can, though I can't imagine how many of them he's boarded out. He can play those cards a little more safely. Even cards like Hymn to Turok, which is he has 2 of in his deck, which is a card that isn't completely strong in the matchup. Can be stronger because Jarvis is on the play. On Daryl's side, he's on the draw. If he didn't have his second Sylvan Library in already, he probably wants to do that now, as he may not start out ahead in the game. He may have to play more, kind of like what we saw at the end there. Sylvan Library really capturing the game for Daryl. He's able to top deck more creatures than Jarvis because of it.
So what you're saying is that Jarvis, being on the draw in game 2, may have boarded out his hymns and is now boarding them back in on the play.
Maybe, yeah, hymns, or he probably doesn't board out his Lilianas because there's something that can answer Tarmogoyf. But yeah, Hymn to Turok is a pretty not great on the draw against Rug Delver, but playable on the play.
All right. Commence with the shuffling. You see Kurt Spiess in the background there, birding the match. Perhaps telling Daryl what his record is.
Yeah. So.
All right, so Jarvis U, gonna be on the play here. What does he need to do?
Well, what Jarvis he needs to not get drawn by Daryl Ayers. He needs to not get behind. What I mean by there is he has to not get behind by too much. Kill spells are really going to help him there. He will likely not have enough kill spells to deal with all of Ayers' threats, so he's going to have to pick and choose wisely and get as to which ones he thinks he can top deck to beat and which ones he has to beat now.
Yeah, and I think I like the Hymn to Turok coming back in on the play. We discussed Force of Will earlier, and the voluntary 2-for-1 not ideal, so why not just force a 2-for-1 with your spell?
Right, Jarvis has better card advantage than Daryl and worse tempo. So he's because he's gotten a tempo advantage, looks like Jarvis is keeping, and I think Daryl is mulliganing. So he's gonna get to start the game with a 2-for-1, as it were.
Yeah, so I think the 2-drops here for Jarvis U. Hymn to Turok, Dark Confidant, those are going to generate card advantage. That's what he wants to see.
Right.
Even if it's just forcing Daryl to use Lightning Bolt on Dark Confidant. Unlike many other builds of Rug Delver, Daryl's burn is quite limited. He has 4 Lightning Bolts, 1 Fire Ice, and 1 Dismember. So Dark Confidant, I think, has a better than normal chance of surviving.
Mm-hmm.
And here we go, starting off with an Underground Sea for Jarvis. Daryl starts with a Wasteland on the sea. Jarvis has a Wasteland of his own. Daryl has a Nimble Mongoose.
So right, Daryl going to be making a lot of threats as early as possible, especially like I said, ones some Jarvis can deal with, some he can't. Here, he has the Deathrite Shaman to hopefully deal with Nimble Mongoose. Deathrite Shaman's talked about one of the newer cards. Actually, a very good answer to Nimble Mongoose is it can typically keep it off of threshold.
Yeah, but the fact that Jarvis went with a turn 2 Wasteland, you know, not a colored mana source.
So just, yeah, then he's gonna go ahead and grab the land from Daryl.
So he's gonna waste the tropical
and then he's
play an Underground Sea into Deathrite. Okay.
Yep,
that can fix his colors.
He goes that way. He grabs Underground Seas to turn on the days in his hand. Both of the days is in his hand. And there is the Sulfuric Vortex is in Daryl Ayers' opening hand. He made a land drop, no other place. And as we saw, Hymn to Turok, as mentioned, now in Jarvis' opening, in his hand.
Do it.
He's going to play Dark Confidant first. It's probably the spell he wants to protect a little more. The 2-for-1, which him gets him, will still be good next turn. Bob will get him yet another card up.
Daryl cracks 2 fetch lands.
Gets all the mana set up that he'll need for the game, really. Interestingly enough, if you're Jarvis, even if you don't have an end-step play this turn, Jarvis is likely going to tap the Deathrite Shaman just to eat a land out of Daryl's yard. Just to keep Nimble Mongoose under control.
And that is 4 cards in the graveyard for Daryl.
And a Daze will counter Tarmogoyf. Daryl is one of those hands that you have to really like. Nimble Mongoose into Goyf into Goyf. Jarvis showing just how he's able to deal with that.
Dark Confidant reveals a swamp. So no life loss.
Plus 1 more card from Jarvis. It's very relevant right now. And I don't think Jarvis did not end up eating the end-step land. Yeah, that's correct. He left Daryl with a full set of lands.
Yeah, which is relevant because now, if he casts the Hymn to Turok,
he will likely give Daryl threshold.
Okay, so he eats the land with the Deathrite to cast him. So it goes back down to 4, but it's going to be 6.
Alright, so Tarmogoyf and Sulfuric Vortex hit the bin.
And Daryl, you see the dejected way he put those in his graveyard.
Yeah,
those were his threats he was hoping to land in succession here.
Well, Jarvis is just punishing him with 2-for-1 after 2-for-1. You can see Jarvis' hand still healthy with 3 cards, more creatures in more creatures in play, more cards in hand.
And now with 2 Deathrite Shamans, that Nimble Mongoose is not going to be big for long, even if it gets pumped.
And Lightning Bolt on Bob.
The Bolt is going to be the 7th card, but the 2 Deathrite Shamans are going to be allowed to go active.
Right. So Mongoose only very temporarily going to be big enough
for
to
1 hit. It got to be a 3/3.
So Ponder from Jarvis, and yeah, the strength of Deathrite Shaman very clear here. And that's the kind of Ponder that Jarvis just kind of wants to keep all the cards from, a pair of Brainstorms and a Wasteland. He's going to draw the Wasteland, probably waste Daryl down to 1 land, even though that may mean that Nimble Mongoose will be big for 1 more turn. It's probably fine. Remember,
take out the red source. No, it takes out the green source.
That's going to get stifled, and the stifle will be dazed. So Daryl's graveyard just full of stuff right now. The Numb Mongoose will be able to deal a fair amount of damage. Remember, because of the land ability, if Jarvis wants to, he can get 2 cards a turn.
Why go for the green source then? Because my thought was you want to take out the red source because if Daryl draws burn spells, he's going to take out the death
Right.
threats.
So why take out the green? Just I think Sylvan Library would be the card he's most worried about right now, actually. Burn
Okay.
spells are good, but a Resolve Sylvan Library is really how Daryl would pull back in.
So Jarvis has gained a bunch of card advantage off of his Dark Confidant.
I don't think he wants to lose
Torok.
that.
Doesn't want to let Daryl dig out of it. Okay. Well, Daryl's going to try to dig a little with Brainstorm.
Interestingly enough, Jarvis doesn't really need any more cards to win this game. His pair of Death Rates should be able to go the entire distance.
Yeah, really having two of them here.
And Shaheen Sarani is 6-0, just winning on table 1, being close to time there. So that'll put him 1 win away from top 8.
We saw him in round 4 with Esper Stoneblade. He's really been a champion of that deck. Alright, so a lot of death writing going on.
Brainstorm from Jarvis U, and actually he's got another Wasteland drawn, so he's going to be able to get Daryl down to almost no permanence. And Daryl's just going to concede.
Yeah.
All right, so Jarvis
It's very
U-
likely Jarvis just showed that Wasteland right there, and that was it.
Yeah. All right. 2-1. Jarvis U defeats Daryl Ayers, and so you're still in round 6 here of the Legacy Open. I believe that both these players are undefeated, if not, or one loss. So Jarvis getting very close to the top 8.